Hello, hopefully this is working. We'll see in like 10 seconds. We'll hear in 10 seconds. That probably should be better said. Alright. It's working. Hopefully everybody's doing well as we are now on the 29th installment of Shooting the Breeze. I'll have to check this back out. This is thing one. I'll say this right off the rip because I know I'll forget if I put it off to later. This is the start of a new season in my team or in general on NBA 2K24. I always freaking forget. This is the third time this has happened now. To spend the freaking tokens up top because they expire and the token market expires. And this is twice now that I've yet to do that. I don't know why the hell they do that. That bothers the hell out of me. I had to get that off my chest. I had like 30 tokens I didn't get to spend. Thing two. This will be a quicker episode of Shooting the Breeze. So let's get right into it. The first thing I need to make note of is the thing that I talked a lot about in last week's episode. And that is that I wanted Pascal Siakam to be traded because I wanted the Raptors to start like a new era. I went on a whole pretty much, it wasn't really a tangent, but it was just a thought process for them. And they ended up trading him to the Indiana Pacers. Today, they're like, oh, AHS is doing Shooting the Breeze. We might as well get this trade done. There's been lots of rumors, obviously. I personally thought he was going to get traded to the Kings. And then the trade talks with the Pacers heated up and ended up being a done deal as Pascal Siakam is now an Indiana Pacer. Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, Kira Lewis, and 3 first-round picks are now belonging to the Toronto Raptors. Kira Lewis got traded for the Pelicans for luxury tax reasons. Glad I got the steal there. So, like I said, for the Raptors, they're officially, that's going to be nice, in a new era. Their championship team, the only player that is still left is Chris Boucher. And I don't think he will be there for the long. If he was there for the long run, that would be hilarious, but I really doubt it. For the Pacers, it's kind of weird because Tyrese has been hurt for about a week and a half or so, and I probably should have checked when he was coming back. But getting another guy for their offense that is electric when Tyrese is playing, and the defense that is very not electric, I feel Siakam definitely out of the stars that were on the market to trade for and even in their realm to sign for in the offseason, Siakam probably fit them the most. So I think it should be a good fit. I also think I thought that any team that he would have got traded to probably would have re-signed him in the offseason. They would have given him as much money that way because, like, in this case, they had to give up 3 first-round picks. And, like, if it was the Kings case, they probably had to give up some picks and a lot more players. So that's kind of like they would do anything they could to re-sign him. So, that being said, I do expect him to re-sign with Indiana in the offseason. So, good that we're getting some trades pre-deadline because it kind of feels that a lot of the trades that happen are like the deadline day, and you got to like gather all that day. Where now we're kind of like getting some before, which is a good thing, you know. It's not good for it's not good for some of the players because they got to like move and all that crap, and it's emotional. But from like a outside bystander and somebody that's not rooting for like a fan of either team and like rooting for them, it's not. You know, it's interesting, to say the least. And this is the last thing I'll probably say about this, probably would not be surprised if Bruce Brown gets traded, as I feel he fits a lot of different teams because he could play a lot of different positions and was a key piece of that Denver Nuggets title run last year. I know him literally just getting traded after getting signed in the offseason kind of like neglects that a little bit, but I'm glad that got blocked. So we'll see what happens there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he stays in Toronto. But if I had to guess, I would say he gets traded as well. I do have one other NBA note, in that, I'm trying to read this comment in the chat. I get these comments like at least once a month, and it's like telling me. It's kind of like I don't know the best way to put it. It's a long ass message. I don't feel like reading it, so that's why I'm distracted right now. So I'm not reading it. I'm worried about this other NBA note that I had because, like I said, last week I spent a lot of time talking about Siakam getting traded, and I was just very much wanting to do it to like benefit the Raptors and to like look forward to their future. And another team that is kind of bleak, but their future is a bit more questionable, is the Atlanta Hawks. Now, it's kind of weird that I say this because they won a very close game against the Orlando Magic as the night that I'm speaking on this. But they beat the Spurs on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. In a game, they were up 30, and then that fourth quarter, it was a good chance that everybody's like, oh, my God, we want the Spurs to win this. We think the Spurs could win this. And they didn't really get below 10 points. I think the closest it got was 7 or 8 points. But Atlanta was more than likely going to win that game. But all right, let's ask Siri because I forgot to write this down already. If I was to guess, I think they are the 12th seed. What seed are the Atlanta Hawks right now?
I found this on the web.
Pull up. All right, I'm just going to type it in. This is bad YouTubing. NBA stands. I think they're 12. This is why it changes every day, obviously. The Atlanta Hawks are why they're 10th, so I lied, but they are one spot from being at 12. I don't know. The Hawks, kind of a weird team. The DeJounte Murray trade, the trade package itself, Danilo Gallinari never ended up playing for the Spurs. They essentially just gave up 3 first-round picks that obviously they wish they could have back now because it hinders a lot of them from potentially making another trade. But I kind of always questioned the fit of DeJounte Murray there. I thought defensively he was really going to help them. And kind of, it's very much the same. I think is the best way to put it. And then obviously the John Collins trade last year, they didn't really get anything back for him player-wise. And they did it to save money-wise. And they never – Jalen Johnson's done very well, so I can't really critique him and say he's been bad. He's done very well. But it's just like the team itself is not – it's not in the same position it was last year. It's kind of dwindling backwards. So I would be intrigued to see what trade they could make. But I feel that – a lot of teams that would pursue DeJounte Murray so the 3 teams I had wrote down were the Nets, the Pelicans, the Heat. I feel the first 2 teams could offer players that would actually play for them and maybe some picks. I don't know. The Pelicans, they have picks. I don't know if they were really willing to give them up. That was a tongue twister there. So the other team I wrote down, and it would be very dangerous for the league if DeJounte got traded there, was the Heat. That I had them at 3 because I just don't think the Heat have much good to offer. We just went through a whole offseason where we were discussing about the Heat and Damian Lillard, and then that obviously ended up costing them. Where the Nets and Pelicans, like the Pelicans, they're the 5th seed. I remember that because I was going to talk a lot about it with them, but obviously they're the 5th seed. The Nets are right near the Hawks level, and I think the Nets, personally, in my opinion, have a more fun, and maybe a little bit better team than the Hawks. But I was seeing a lot of contingency from the Nets fan base on Twitter today. That was not a foul. He jumped into me saying that some moves need to be made just because it's just the same thing over and over again. And personally, there's a lot of players that are on the Nets I would like to see on my team. Cough, cough, watch my Memphis Grizzlies franchise video, and you would learn a lot about that. But I feel that the Nets also have, if they could make, one move, they would be a way better team. Would they be a top 4 team? I don't think that would be – it would take a lot for them to be better than the Celtics, Bucks, and Heat. Maybe Heat. I think they could be at the same level as the Heat. I meant to say Sixers. But in the Eastern Conference, it's very much the top 4 teams. And the fourth team is debatable. Like, the Bucks and Celtics are at the top. I feel I'm going to include the Heat because they keep outdoing themselves every year. I'm going to include the Sixers because they're playing very well. But if they do terrible, I just realized I'm down 6 points. And then the Knicks, I don't know how to feel about. Glad I blocked the hell out of that. So the Nets either make some trades to like change the team up and get younger, or give up like a Spencer Dinwiddie and or Ben Simmons and keep the good guys that are there. Because like I said, a lot of they have very much a team where I would like almost all their players on my team, which is the Grizzlies. And I feel a lot of fan bases in the NBA feel the exact same way. So that's why I'm kind of wanting them to get DeJounte Murray. I was wanting them to get Drew Holiday before he got traded to the Celtics. And like I said, I would say I really like the Nets. I was going to say if I wasn't a Grizzlies fan, I would be a Nets fan. That's a lie. But I very much have hyped up the Nets ever since they traded Kyrie and Kevin Durant, because I felt their fan base got dealt a very bad thing because they had like this crazy duo that they did not exceed expectations, and a lot of it was not basketball reasons. It was non-basketball reasons why that happened. And they had a lot of hopes and dreams that kind of got screwed. And then they got Mikal Bridges, and the last couple of months he turned into an all-star. You can't really say all-star yet because he hasn't made the all-star team, but it was a breakout that was crazy to see and nice to see, even though, again, I wish that was for my Memphis Grizzlies. But, again, it's kind of like if he's not on my team, I'm at least going to root for him while he's on this team and doing very well. And then this year it's kind of like the same thing, but it's like they built up expectations that are not being delivered. So essentially what I was trying to say is I feel that if they were to trade for DeJounte Murray, it would fix some things potentially. I doubt it, but we'll see what happens. Moral of the story is, as I was pretty much saying, I wanted the Raptors to trade Pascal Siakam, and they did that. I would like to see the Hawks trade DeJounte Murray, and we'll see if they'll do that. The trade deadline, I believe, is in 3 weeks. Now, the NBA notes are done with. It is time for NFL playoff talk. We don't have many NFL discussions left because, like I said, we're in the playoffs now. This wild card weekend was wild, to say the least, and I very much enjoyed it. We're now on to the divisional round, 4 games this weekend, with the first one being probably what will be the best game out of all of them. The number 4 seed Houston Texans facing the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens. Now, what sucks for the Ravens is that it kind of seems the playoffs during the Lamar era has not been the best, as Lamar only has 1 playoff victory, and that was against the Titans. There was the year he won MVP, and they had the 1 seed. They lost to the Titans. And then there was the next year, I believe he got hurt against, is either the Bills or the Bengals. No, I think it was the Bills. And then there was 1 year they faced the Bengals, and then there was 1 year he was hurt. And now we have this year, in which he did very great. And I like rooting for Lamar because he was my fantasy football quarterback, and I've kind of always enjoyed watching him play. And I never said this on my videos because again, when I talk about predictions, and especially when it comes to NFL-related stuff, if there's something that I really want to happen, I don't say it because I always have the feeling that whatever I say comes back to bite me in the ass. I say that time in and time out. And it was very much, I always had this thought process all year, and until Christmas Day, it seemed that everybody else then got that thought process. Why wasn't Lamar like solidified MVP candidate? Because a lot of people were trying to either give it to Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, or Brock Purdy, which, again, 2 of the 3 were understandable because they were doing historic things. But from the standpoint of how the MVP award's been given out, where it's the best quarterback on the best team, I don't understand why they try to break that, especially because, again, Lamar was also doing great quarterbacking things as well as being the number 1 seed. So it kind of felt weird that it was just like after Christmas Day, that's when the tide switched and there was the Lamar MVP thing. Even though I've kind of thought that all year, but I was mainly had a special eye to it because he was my fantasy quarterback. Definitely upset I got fouled there. That being said, I think the Ravens are gonna. They gotta win. They gotta win. If not, it would be extremely sad. So I'm going with the Ravens. Now, if you've been watching me all Shooting the Breeze season long, all NFL season long, I've picked this team every freaking week because it's my team. In a game last week that I picked them to win, they won. The 7th seeded Green Bay Packers against the number 1 seeded San Francisco 49ers. I said it once. I'll say it again. I've picked the Packers all year. I'm going to pick them again right here. I'm not going to say much else because, like I just said 30 seconds ago, I don't like to say things because a lot of times it comes back to bite me in the ass. Now, we have 2 other games. The 4-seeded Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the 3-seeded Detroit Lions. I think this one's probably the most difficult one to predict because it's 3-4 matchup. Very close. Where the other ones, there's a 2-3 matchup, so that's kind of a lot. This one's a difficult one to predict, but I think I'm going to go with the Lions. I think that is the team I'll predict here. And lastly, the last game, probably the game everybody is looking forward to the most. We've had this matchup in the playoffs several times, and the last time around it delivered extremely. The first time around was a good matchup. The second time around was a memorable one, a historic one. But this time the scenery has changed. The number 3 seeded Kansas City Chiefs at the number 2 seeded Buffalo Bills. I am going with the Bills. So, like I said, this is a quick episode of Shooting the Breeze. Hopefully everybody's staying safe during this weather form that I don't know. I was going to say weather format. This weather that we've been getting. Hopefully everybody is staying safe and warm. I will be streaming again another episode of the Memphis Grizzlies franchise. I believe that is episode number 4. I know I've been slacking on it. I haven't really been slacking on it. I don't have like a set day for those to come out, but I'll be streaming that soon. I have another ROH TV review, and then next week we got the Royal Rumble, and we got the NFC and AFC title games. So those are big events in themselves. So again, thank you for watching this. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.